Hello and welcome along to the F1 Esports Pro Series qualifying show presented by Aramco. We're here once again. Yesterday's action around Zandvoort and the circuit to Gilles Villeneuve was very interesting indeed. We'll be going through all of that and also taking a look at qualifying at Austria around the Red Bull Ring. Let's introduce my guests first though. We have on my left Nick Hamilton and Tom Deacon. Nick, racing driver, esports extraordinaire, guru, whatever you want to call you. How did you find yesterday's action? Well, I mean, the quali show obviously was amazing, but overall, how was it?
It was absolutely action-packed, I would say. Crazy what happened. But it's great to be here, great to be back, sitting next to Tom.
Oh, mate.
I like Tom.
He's
a nice guy.
You're too kind.
I mean, you
nice
definitely
guy.
sat next to me as well, but no worries.
Well,
Cool.
oh, sorry about that.
Tom, great to have you as well.
Thank you very much. Do you know what? I've learned with this qualifying show that my place is very much to just warm up the seat, ready for Alex Jakes.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, but
you're worth more than that.
No.
Show.
I think it's good in life to know your place, and I know my place is just warming up the
seat warmer.
The seat warmer for Alex Jakes.
You talk a lot for a seat warmer. what have we got on the special cards today?
Listen,
what
Matt,
look forward to?
I want to talk about McLaren, I want to talk about Alfa Romeo, I want to talk about the standings, also about Nicolas Longuet's potential name change. We've got to discuss that in the show.
Spicy stuff. Let's take a look at the story so far and what happened around the circuit at Zandvoort. Here we are then, the race is underway. And it was a very interesting one. You can see in the background there, Donoso and Caraton getting very close indeed down towards turn one. Freddie Rasmussen in the lead of this race. And we had a very interesting tale of two halves, Nick. Different strategies, that's what I love to see. You've got Longuet and Donoso, the two runners on the medium.
Yeah, and talking about Longuet, this is him making a mistake on lap one, and which cost him a place. Marcel Kiefer took advantage straight away, and you can see Joni Tormela there getting the job done on the first lap for him. So a great start to the race. This is on board with Jan Ortner, sorry, my bad. And this is where he got this slipstream, the perfect exit, DRS wide open, and it was a really easy overtake for Jarno to then take the lead.
As the race unfolded, it seemed as though maybe Freddie Rasmussen wanted this to happen. He was very much in energy-saving mode throughout the race, and we'll see a little bit later on that Freddie was allowed to just unleash so much of his battery power down that straight to get past Jarno Ortner, who was potentially struggling a little bit with his battery saving after leading the race for so long. Here's Freddie Rasmussen coming out of the pits. It was crucial for Marcel Kiefer's race as well to get through on the Renault so early, as it allowed him to be in the mix later on in the race as well. Yeah,
he was always there or thereabouts, wasn't he? And this is now Longuet trying to make amends for his mistake on lap one. Him coming through past Danny Moreno here, a good move, gets it done on the brakes, which is nice, and using his soft tyre to his advantage. And this is him actually setting up a move on Brendan Lee. He does it at turn one, sets it up straight away, but they're pretty much side by side through the whole first sector, and Brendan Lee is no pushover, as we know, but just a little bit more grip, using that soft tyre to his advantage, as I said, and got the job done.
Now, there's a bit of iconic commentary that wasn't put in an F1 social clip earlier on, but we'll dive into that a little bit later as to what that was. But right now, we're looking at lap 23 and 25. This was crucial. We were looking at the time intervals the whole time. We knew that Freddie Rasmussen had to be within 4 tenths, and look at that battery power deployment. I feel like Jarno may have ran out a little bit there, because we saw him defend quite easily for the rest of the race, didn't we?
Yeah, you could see his battery's pretty much maxed out there, so he didn't really have anything to defend with.
Look at him.
Rasmussen takes the win.
Wins, absolutely elated, can hardly contain himself, old Freddie Rasmussen there. As you can see on the race classification, he won by 6 tenths of a second, which was actually a rather big cushion by the end of that, after 4 tenths was pretty much striking range. But Marcel Kiefer, a strong race, and overall, a good race for Red Bull, closing that gap to Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, I think they'll be very happy with that. David Tonitza down in P11, Danny Perezne as well. The guys that we know that have got pace sort of struggling there out of the points. But yeah, a really, really good race in all.
Joni Tormela had a great race as well, Tom, up in 4th position. A man that we've known pretty much since the beginning of time, or the beginning of F1 Esports. And he had a very strong race. He was very much in the mix, but just about holding on to DRS for most of it. What have you made of Joni so far?
I think he's a fantastic driver, and obviously Red Bull demoted him, some would say, to AlphaTauri, but he has delivered. That's points in every round so far, just showing the calibre of talent and how ultra competitive the field is. Joni Tormela just doing a great job for AlphaTauri. Unfortunately, though, Bianca Lila not in the points yet.
Now, we've taken a look at what happened around Zandvoort. Let's go to the circuit de Gilles Villeneuve to see what occurred there. And here we go, lights out. And Tanitsa from pole after Marcel Kiefer had his lap time deleted in qualifying, which he was rather annoyed about because it was due to wall riding, which you're not allowed to do, using the walls to your advantage. But Otmir getting ahead of Tanitsa straight from the start, both of those guys on the mediums. This is Freddie Rasmussen trying to make a pretty audacious move into the hairpin, it has to be said, Nick, just about not making it work.
Yeah, I thought he was going to rear end him, to be fair. He did a great job in taking avoiding action, and it didn't cost him that much in terms of exit. And this is
crucial, wasn't it?
Crucial time to come past Danny Berezne on exit of his first pit stop.
Yeah, because Freddie Rasmussen was able to then gap that field behind him, and it really put him in good stead to challenge for the victory. Didn't manage it, but a very solid P2 for Freddie. Here's David Tanitsa, who was making his way very solidly through the field. A much more aggressive strategy from the FDA Hublot Esports team, Tom, where they went a lot earlier on the soft tyres. He was struggling towards the end, as we saw, and we'll talk about the incident. But right now, they went full attack, track position, let's go.
Yeah, Tanitsa just showing how good he really is, and closing on Nicolas Longue there. The strategy was working. Danny Berezne did his part for the Alfa Romeo team, as you can see, just holding him off as long as possible so that Jarno Opmeer could speed through the pack. But yeah, it then begins to hot up, as we know from last night's action.
Absolutely. Love that little bit of commentary. Almost commentary there, Tom. I'm getting very excited. Maybe we have to get you in the booth at some point. But Tanitsa up to P2. This was where it was looking quite good for him. He was steadily moving towards Freddie Rasmussen. Here's a few moves from Jarno Opmeer, who was just scything his way through the field like it was easy AI, wasn't he, Nick?
Yeah, he pitted like 4 laps later than Tanitsa. I thought it was a bit too late, but he's got so much more grip. The guys that are around him are on really old mediums, and he's using that to his advantage. And this is the moment. Look how close he is, realizing he surely can't see him, and obviously a big accident there for both of the guys. And
yeah. Let's clarify that then. So for people wondering, Jarno Opmeer did not see the Ferrari driver at all on his screen. There was a desyncing issue where the Ferrari driver of David Tanitsa could see the Alfa Romeo, but vice versa, Opmeer, it was a clear track. They tried their best to try and avoid it. Alfa knew about the problems, and that's why he pulled to the outside, but unfortunately it did not work. And Opmeer takes the victory, no penalty, because it was none of his fault really. And Freddie Rasmussen, a very strong P2. And to be fair, if anything, that incident didn't help Alfa Romeo or Opmeer, because Red Bull, P2 and P3, they get promoted after Tanitsa incident. Yeah,
and the big shame is Tanitsa yet again not scoring points for situations that weren't his fault.
Shout out though, on this qualifying show, I didn't dig Bianco Lila out. I didn't say yesterday that he has been disappointed and he should be subbed. I said, is it a possibility?
To be fair, you did dig him out. You dug him out of his rut.
I implied, is it time to make that change? Great to see that he's in the points. But McLaren, though, let's not forget, debut drivers doing the business right there and getting in the points.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Danny Moreno up in P5. That was a rather strong performance from him, wasn't it?
Yeah, really, really good. And it's good to see McLaren Shadow doing a great job in that sense. They've not had the best or the easiest of starts to the championship with their lack of experience, but they're coming good.
Let's take a look at the Drivers' Championship standings and how it all looks after those rounds. Here we are, Jarno Opmeer, 108 points. So he is stretching his legs at the top of the table, but the two Red Bull drivers, when we look to the constructors in a moment, are really putting on a show for us as to who is going to take top spot. But right now, Jarno Opmeer, Nick, has been pretty unassailable.
Yeah, I was thinking he's always at the front, isn't he? He's always the man to beat, and everybody behind him they're not necessarily getting frustrated whether they're taking him out or hitting him. They're being very decent, aren't they? And realising that he's definitely the force to be reckoned with, the man to beat.
Number 14 there, Matt, for those who are unaware, and I know they will, Michael Romanidis getting some points, and the youngest F1 Esports Pro driver there, getting his opportunity to shine and doing just that for Williams. But they don't seem to be able to get a partnership. They don't know who the best driver combo is at the moment, but I'm looking forward to seeing them in Austria today.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Williams constantly moving their drivers around. We don't see that in really any other team. And speaking of teams, this is the team's championship, 3 points in it. $750,000 on the line as a prize pool. And it is between Alfa Romeo and Red Bull at the moment. It has to be said, it's looking like a 2-horse race at the moment as we head towards the second half of the season. And I mean, who would your money be on, Nick, after these races we've seen so far?
It's really, really close to call, isn't it? Alfa Romeo doing a great job, especially at the start of the season, looking like the best team, the strongest team, but now Red Bull coming right back at them. It's
tantalising, isn't it? It's just, we haven't seen this before. It's usually been a team running away. To have 3 points in it for the biggest prize pool we've ever had in F1 Esports, it's mouth-watering.
Yeah, because Alfa Romeo have never finished higher than third in a team championship. So you expect them, it's going to be an improvement, but can they hold on? Red Bull looks so strong for their 1 and 2 drivers.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at the social media roundup from the previous races. We've got a few tweets in. We've got Mr. Ben Daly, who I hear you get on very well with, Nick. You know, you've got lots of positive things to say about him.
Yeah, I get on with him really well. I actually dropped him a message last night saying, great job from Danny Moreno, and he totally ignored me.
Was it a scene moment, or was it just I've not read it at all moment?
I don't know.
Let's say it's seen. That sounds worse.
Yeah, is it because he's just very busy with his new car? He just showing off his new car?
No.
Yeah, that car, the yellow one, that he copied off of me, because I already had it.
It hurts.
Yeah.
It hurts me, and I'm not even involved.
I know, mate.
My heart bleeds for him. Formula One, this is
Your heart bleeds, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I watched the video, you know, a great little pun from me, Nicolas Longuet going the long way around, and they take the quote, take me out of the video, no audio.
Come on.
You're not important, really.
Well,
clearly.
Nick, it's your show, so if you say that, you know, anything goes. You know, you're the celeb here, I am but a mere peasant. But this is Formula One, fair play to them. Not fair play at all, I'm very angry. Here's Freddie Rasmussen, who, to be fair, they still got it at the end of that. Makes me feel like maybe there was a bit of lack of belief in the first few rounds.
Maybe, or just frustration that everyone says. Danny Beresny says, even the McLaren team, James Baldwin says, this is so competitive and ultra competitive from Danny's words. But Freddie Rasmussen just having to just find that extra gear, and he has, and I think that's why you get a smiley face. I don't think I've ever seen him smile like that, actually.
That's the most emotion he's ever shown, isn't it? In an emoji. But no, it's been great to see Rasmussen start to bring the charge now. In these next few races coming up as well, I'm sure. Here's Jarno Watmir. This was just clarifying what we mentioned in the highlights, where he couldn't see the Ferrari driver at all, and he did his very best to try and avoid him, but unfortunately, carnage.
And it says from the start of his race, and you see turn 1, he sent it round the outside of Tornitsa to be on the inside for turn 2, but Omid didn't even see him.
Yeah, I mean, how does Tornitsa keep his head high? Like, I know that some of the pro drivers yesterday have put so much, all of them have put so much dedication and time in, and they don't get the luck that they wanted during the race and can't show how good they are to the rest of the world. How does Tornitsa pick himself up? Because he's been so unfortunate. We know how good he is, but like, how does he come into Austria today and just go, right, I know what I've got to do? Because it just hasn't happened for him.
Yeah, it's a weird one. It really is. I think that one of the saving graces is the fact that third is still very much possible for the FDA Hublot team, because there's not a huge amount of points that have been surmounted apart from Red Bull and Alfa Romeo. But I think he can easily pick himself back up. He's already had a victory, hasn't he, Nick?
Yeah, and he's reigning champion, isn't he? And it's not like he's making mistakes as such, especially yesterday at Canada. Pretty much getting pole position, I would say, with a legal lap. It's easy for him to pick himself up, I would say.
Right, it's almost time to get into our qualification for our third race of this event, Austria. But before we do that, let's take a look at Danny Kvyat, who's going to take us around the Red Bull Ring.
Hi, it's Daniel Kvyat. I'm a Scuderia Alpha Tauri driver, and I would like to talk about the Red Bull Ring track in Austria. It's a very short track with only 10 corners. They are all very high speed, so it makes it a very challenging track. So you need to be very precise in every of this corner in order to make a competitive lap time. So we're here in Austria, try to get a good speed for the long straight. Quite big braking for a medium speed corner. Turn 1, right-handed corner. Very long straight now, coming with a little uphill, a little bit bumpy here for braking. Try to brake quite late. There is a quite big camber change in the middle of that corner, so the exit can be quite tricky with the traction. Another long straight, as you can see, using DRS, downhill braking. Also very late. Try to use everything on the exit, and short straight and very high speed section now. Downhill, corner, a very fast left-handed, another one, very long corner as well, more than 250 kph, so very high G-force, and now very fast second last corner. Can be quite tricky with the rear and big compression in the apex of last corner. And that's it. It was a lap in Austria.
Right, big thanks to Danny Kvyat for taking us around the real-life track. Here we have a virtual one on board with Nicolas Longuet. And Nick, take us through exactly what we can expect from this track, where the opportunities are.
On the exit of this corner, or turn one, and down this long straight, be open in DRS, and then it's a really heavy braking zone, so you want to maximise your brakes there and outbrake any of your competitors, so getting the run is important. And then the exit again onto this long straight as well, so there's a lot of parts to this circuit where exit is super, super important, pretty much everywhere.
So coming into this middle sector now, it's pretty much single file, isn't it, Nick? I can't see too many opportunities for drivers to be able to make any moves here. It's more just kind of setting yourself up back towards potentially the back, well, the start-finish straight. Yeah,
for sure. And as we go into the final sector, the final or penultimate corner, it's a really ballsy right-hander. You just chuck it in, but you've got to be careful not to run too wide in the middle of that and get it wrong, and then another DRS, making sure you get a good exit across the line.
Absolutely. Track limits is going to be something to keep an eye on in qualifying and the race later on this evening. Here's the driver lineup. So pretty much as is, but apart from McLaren has changed. So James Baldwin has pulled out at last minute. Not sure exactly why, but Matthias Collegon and Danny Moreno will be the lineup for McLaren this time round. So a bit of a shame for James Baldwin not to be racing. And as we look at the second page, I'd like to see Lucas Blakely really start to show his potential that we saw in the exhibition races earlier on this year. Sally Sautung gets another opportunity despite maybe not getting the performances that he'd want to, especially qualifying. That's where the drivers have been struggling and not being able to then make it up in the race as well.
Yeah, Sally Sautung definitely needs to up his game, I would say. He wears his heart on his sleeve, can tell he wasn't very happy from yesterday's performance. He's got another opportunity to show what he's made of, and it's good to see Alvaro Carreton back as well.
So I'm delighted to say that joining us via the magic of television, we have the wonderful Natalie Pinkham. How are you, Natalie?
I'm great. I mean, got a bit of a yellow hue to me. Don't worry, I'm not sick. I'm fighting this and delighted to be with you guys right now.
I think it's magical how you've managed to blend in with the Monaco sign in the background. That is just, how you've done that is awesome. You are the same colour as the Monaco sign.
That'll be the fake tan. Sorry about that.
I love that. So, Natalie,
how are you all?
Yeah,
I'm missing you.
We're great, thanks, Nat. But it's a shame not to have you in the studio. I'm sure. Well, we're hoping that you'll be back for the next time we're here. You were watching yesterday. Did you enjoy the coverage?
Very much so. I felt sorry for poor old Tanitsa though. Oof, that was nasty. Yeah, but loved it as ever. A great result and some great racing.
There is Tanitsa that you just spoke about.
Here he is.
So we had a replacement. I don't know if you've heard of him before. His name's Nick Hamilton, and he was on the desk where you were. How did you think he got on?
I thought Nick was magnificent. You did too good a job, mate. Please.
Oh, you're so nice.
Just ease up on that talent, will you? I want my job back.
It's all right. It's just I was another seat warmer basically, just like Tom is for Alex. Yeah. I'm just keeping the seat warm for you now.
Just another desk job.
Just another desk job.
So Natalie, what's your experiences of Austria and the Red Bull Ring? It's a fast, it's a furious track. It's short. What would you make of it?
It's very short. It's pretty short, and in layman's terms, you'd think that would make it simple, but it doesn't. It seems to make it more technical and more tricky than ever. Personally, I've got great memories from being there. It's a beautiful setting. And I've got great memories of wearing a dirndl and hanging out with Niki Lauda, who, of course, they've named Turn 1 after the Niki Lauda curve. And, yeah, it's a cool place. It's normally got hundreds of thousands of Dutch fans, which, I don't know if you've ever seen them in full force and full flight, but they go bonkers. They let off the what do you call those sort of smoky things, and they just bounce. They're like proper hardcore fans. So I really miss it. It's going to be so strange. Well, it was so strange earlier this year going there with back-to-back races, which was obviously great because they were able to get racing going again in 2020, but with no fans. And for me, the Red Bull Ring really needs fans. It's like this cauldron of noise, and yeah, a very cool place to race.
Absolutely, and we had Zandvoort last night, and we didn't manage to go there in real life, and the smoky things I'm sure would have been sold out had we gone there. So we're actually just waiting.
What are the smoky things called? Flares.
Flares, maybe.
Yeah,
flares. Is it flares? We'll go with flares. We know what you mean. But we're just waiting on one driver to sort their lives out, basically, and ready up in the lobby so that we can get qualifying underway. Probably the harsher.
Fix up the chart or under Matt, sort your life out.
I was told not to say sort themselves out, so I said sort their lives out instead, which was probably even more aggressive. But we had Canada, actually, yesterday, which was a really close qualifying. We've got another very short qualifying here as well. Guys, are you expecting...
What are you talking about, Matt? You were complaining all the way through Canada, saying, it's not as close as I was expecting it to be.
It was like a second between them, and then they turned it up as soon as I said it.
I'm curious to see in this qualifier, as I'm sure you guys are, the debut drive for Matthias Collegon. Will it be a good, an easier track for him to get into in qualifying, do you reckon, Nick?
I don't believe so. Any circuit is any circuit is difficult, right?
Yeah.
And especially around here, if you don't maximise your exits and you're braking into like turn 2, for example, you're going to give away free time. So how well prepared is he? I'm sure he's going to do a good job, but it's not going to be easy for him.
Now, I'm hearing Nicolas Longuet is sick of waiting. That's what I've heard. I've been told to tee it up, and here he is. He's falling asleep at the wheel. There's Donoso in the background as well.
He had some issues with his brake pedal the other day, so persevered. But
so he was asleep, and then as soon as I said he's sick of waiting, he woke up.
But he says he's going to change his name to Longway. That's your words, Matt.
He did not say that.
He tweeted out, I am now going to officially change my name to Nicholas Longway.
What an impact that I have on these drivers.
Incredible.
Incredible.
Powerful words.
What did you make, Natalie? You said... it was Zandvoort where Nicolas Longuet was making some rather outstanding moves. What did you make of my pun as well, Nicolas Longuet going the long way?
Well, listen, I always rely on you for the one-liners. You never fail to deliver on those, Matt.
Keep
well done,
ego.
you.
Thank you. Thanks, Nat. That's really good.
Just back to the Red Bull Ring, I think I have to say that it was one of my highlights of the season so far was Norris getting on the podium.
Yes,
do you remember?
Scenario 7.
It doesn't seem like a long time ago now. Like looking back on that, it seems like a lifetime ago because so much has happened. But I think that was the scene of some great moments. Oh, it's a bit. Is that yawn or laugh?
Donoso Delgado in the background, like, yawning away.
Enjoying your story, Natalie. He was just yawning the longest.
I'm so sorry to bore you.
Either that or he's bored of the fact that he's competing for almost $1 million. Oh, God, get out really early.
Sort your life out, says Matt. Sort your life out.
Look, I'm clearly aggressive. I've annoyed drivers in the past, and I'm sure that's not my last comment that I'm going to annoy people with.
Nat, it looks like it's night time where you are.
Well,
it's lighting.
This is my lair. No, do you know what it is? I just disappear to the top of the house and close all the shutters and pretend I'm not here so that no one can ask anything of me. And I can just be in the moment with you instead.
We're only a few moments away, and that's professional. She has to have the lighting. She can't have glare through the window. You see?
No, I'm just saying it looked like it was night time. That's all.
Oh, hello.
Oh, wait, hang on.
That's less yellow. Hello. Oh, and now it's gone back.
Is it hello, yellow?
So, Tom, come on, right. We're just waiting for qualifying to get underway.
Okay.
Share us one of your thoughts on your notes.
Listen, you know I like to prepare. Danny Berezny said after the 2 rounds in Zandvoort and Canada, he said he had every opportunity to perform and failed to do that. He's making a few changes in preparation so he can deliver. I don't know what those preparations would be. Like, be more prepared? How do you be more prepared for a race?
I don't think it'd be training his left leg because he's almost close to breaking that brake pedal with the force that he's putting in.
I know what it is.
What?
Get a new microphone.
Yes, because he had used basically a singing microphone.
Yeah. No, he won't swap that out. He loves his karaoke. No, he loves that.
But it's interesting that he said that he had every opportunity and didn't take it. That must be frustrating for the drivers. They thought they had a chance, they didn't. They can't let it slip today
Yeah, I mean, it's been a huge opportunity for Alpha because, you've got Jarno Opmeer, who's been leading the field throughout most of it. Danny Beresne is part of the furniture. He's been here since season 1. He's got the pace, we know that, but he hasn't been delivering. Qualifying, he's slipped up twice now and been knocked out in Q1, not even Q2, and we've seen that, live on the qualifying show. Welcome. But it's been interesting to see how Beresne has fallen short at tracks and at places that you wouldn't have expected it.
Yeah, and this is what's allowed Red Bull to close up in the championship as well, because both drivers from Red Bull...
He's watching, 100% he's watching. Hi, Danny!
And he's still got the microphone.
Danny, give us a tune. I'm not relying that he's watching us.
What's your karaoke song?
A little bit of Bill Withers, Ain't No Sunshine.
Mine's Too Sexy for My Shirt.
There was no delay there.
No,
there was no
I already do it.
Before I say what my karaoke tune is, Natty, do you have a particular favourite karaoke tune?
Obviously. Turn around every now
Wow.
and then. I get along.
Hello.
Hello.
We're going to get done for copyright here.
I cut off just in the nick of time.
It was so good, Nat, that it's fine.
Back to the serious for a second. How much of Beresne's issues do you think, and indeed any of the racers' issues, is there the potential for complacency to set in when you're in your own home? Does it kind of ramp up the adrenaline and the focus in a way if you're in the studio? I'm just interested to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I think it depends on the drivers' personalities, to be honest. I think some of them thrived under pressure. I think Brendan Lee was definitely one of those that we saw in the first couple of seasons when we were here at the Gfinity Arena. But yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, some of them aren't even at home. Some of them are at Formula One HQs. You see the likes of the Renault Academy. I don't know, it really is a case-by-case basis, but I think the likes of Tanitsa and Rasmussen, I don't think they're really affected where they go.
I think they are a lot happier, Natty, that they don't have to sit through the amount of takes I would do to do some links, and they'd have to be standing in the background. I think they're enjoying the fact that they could just actually be in their own house and not have to do any filming with me. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, sorry,
go on.
Just to jump in. That's actually a good question you asked, Nat, because
You
look at Renault and you look at Ferrari, and they go to specific locations to do their job. It's like they go to work, so their mindset is set for the go to work, get the job done sort of thing. Whereas if you're in your bedroom, you sleep there.
Yeah.
You sleep there, so you're used to being in this location where you don't really need to switch on.
I know what you mean, because if I'm in Nat's position, I've probably got a shirt on, but underneath I'm chilling my shorts, but you don't know that. You're not in that kind of...
Just don't ask me to stand up.
Amazing. I'm actually just hearing in my ear that Danny Moreno is having some adverse weather conditions, and that's the reason why we haven't been able to get qualifying underway just yet. We're kind of relying on Mother Nature to stop attacking his internet.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that'll get sorted hopefully quite soon.
James Baldwin not racing today. I don't know the reasons why, but he absolutely rates Danny Moreno this year. Says he's got real pace and he's going to be going places, so watch out for him. And I like that as a debut coming in for an F1 Esports Pro Series, like Jarno Opmeer last year at Renault. Maybe, and I'm forecasting ahead using the Mother Nature. The forecast for me is Danny Moreno could be pushing for a title next year.
Another person that's been very good is Johnny Tormela, and his first lap overtake at Zandvoort. There he is. He's absolutely laughing away.
He's
He is
smiling.
loving life.
I reckon what's happened, Freddie Rasmussen has sent him another emoji in the WhatsApp group with all the drivers, and they're going, blimey, we've never seen this emotion.
2 emojis in a week. I've never seen Johnny Tormela so happy. This is brilliant. It's when he's not racing. When he's racing, he's like, I am terrified. But he's actually been really impressive, hasn't he?
Yeah, points every round so far, and it just goes to show that, Nick and I spoke about it on the desk last night, that you change teams, it gives you that little boost, it gives you that lift. Maybe he doesn't feel the pressure that he had at Red Bull, and doing a great job for AlphaTauri, keeping them in the chance for the team championship.
Yeah, he had a strong Zandvoort, definitely, and he was, as I mentioned earlier, just hanging on to the DRS just about. He's definitely shaved, though. He's lied to us. He said he'd never shave until he wins a race.
Yeah, do not try and get past Matt Gallagher. He will know if you have shaved or not.
I think it'd be pretty obvious if he hadn't shaved. So we're still waiting for qualifying to get underway. Of course, we've got the Red Bull Ring. who do we think is going to be the form drivers? We've obviously got the likes of Otmar Rasmussen. Tanitsa hopefully is a comeback. The McLaren drivers looking good as strong debutants. Anyone that you'd like to see, Nick, that maybe hasn't performed yet?
I wouldn't say someone that... it'd be great to see Haas to get up there.
I feel like we always
Cedric
have a little
Vermeer.
Haas segment where we go...
Yeah.
P7 for Simon Weigang yesterday in Canada
Yeah.
and drops out. I watched the video that he posted on Twitter afterwards. He's an emotional guy. I get his frustrations. He feels like in some way the Haas is the team that people just ignore, literally on the track. Whether you believe in that, that's up to you. But I do want to see them get back in the point. Cedric Tomé fastest lap yesterday, but just not able to get up into the top 10.
Speaking of fastest
I
laps...
feel like there's a bit of that. Oh, hello.
No, go
Shall I
on,
put my
Nat.
hand
No,
down?
you go.
No, I feel like there's a bit of that in the real life Formula One as well. Haas are kind of a bit kind of under the radar. They've got a lot of talent. They're a small team that punch above their weight in terms of resource. They're obviously really struggling for money at the moment, which is why they've had to get rid of both of their drivers in the hope of looking for some money. I actually had a really long chat with Kevin Magnussen yesterday about his future. And he said about Haas that, you know, they were capable of so much more, and that was his frustration, and that he wanted to get back to winning ways. And this is the same across the board for all of these races. It's that buzz of winning, isn't it? And I think that's why you see Jarno Otmar doing so well at the moment. You get into a bit of a groove, you hit a purple patch, and you build on those wins that way. And equally, the opposite can happen. You can slump, and then you can start. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You start to think, well, you know, I can't win, so I won't win, and so on. But I'm like you. I want to see Haas do well, both in the virtual and the real world, because for me, that's what Formula One racing is all about. Is the smaller teams, the creative teams, the resourceful teams that punch above their weight, that don't have this huge amount of money and resource at their fingertips, but they're just pure racers. And again, that's what Kevin said to me, is the reason he has such a good relationship with Gunther Steiner is that they're just passionate racers. There's no BS. They don't care about the politics of the sport. They just want to race. And that's what we all want to see ultimately, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I think another driver that just wants to race and has been really impressive so far is Marcel Kiefer. We've spoken about Jorni Tormela at AlphaTauri. Here's Marcel Kiefer, fully stocked fridge as always. Does he ever drink any of them? I'm not sure. He was actually feeling a little bit unwell yesterday after qualifying, and he probably was even more unwell with the fact that he got his lap stripped away in the Canadian Grand Prix. Probably threw away his chances, Nick, of potentially getting a victory there.
Well, he had a massive panic, didn't he, in qualifying?
Struggled goodness me, we didn't see this live yesterday.
His equipment, and then did a great job. But yeah, it did affect his race, I would say, starting down, where was it, P7, P6. But this is him putting on a move on Nicolas Longuet, getting the job done, using the DRS. Nearly locked up, didn't he, and going to the back of Nicolas, but got the job done, and a good result for the team in general there.
So that little tap that he did, people probably wondering, oh, you know, was that legal or not? He actually got an official warning for that. So don't do that again, basically, was the message from the stewards. But he managed to get through, P3, very strong. A little bit probably kicking himself that he couldn't take the victory there, Tom.
Yeah, I really do love watching Marcel Kiefer and chatting to him in the interviews as well. He seems very selfless, and that's what you need from a supposed number 2 driver. But they are accruing points every race, and Danny Berezny needs to come back into some form today to try and help out his Alfa Romeo team.
Yeah, Danny Berezny...
And to Nick's point about, sorry, I keep interrupting you, but I'm just not sure when I'm supposed to...
We wish you were here, Nat. You carry on.
You don't. You're going to... Careful what you wish for. No, I was going to say to Nick's earlier point about Kiefer, is this idea of recovery, you know, it's being able to put aside the pressure of the moment and any mistakes that you make and any issues you might have, any technical issues, and still be able to deliver. And that's the sign of a great racer. And I think if you can, again, we were chatting to Jensen Button yesterday. There's been a lot of chatting going on lately, hasn't it? This is what happens.
She's name dropping all sorts.
That's usually your job, isn't it?
The thing is, I've got to learn that my only way of really understanding what it is to race is to live vicariously through these guys, because I've never sat in a car, so I can't pretend to know the answers. But we were talking about George Russell. That was it. We were analysing the George Russell incident at the weekend and the fact that he was really berating himself. And I know your brother tweeted him, didn't he, Nick, to say, look, this is part of a process. We've all made mistakes. Don't beat yourself up about it. and it's about that recovery and being able to park it literally and metaphorically and move on. And I think Kiefer did a great job of that yesterday.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Just so you know, I did actually message George as well and said, George.
Nat, did you know that he's a celebrity?
Yeah. George does know who I am, by the way. He knows me by my first name. But anyway, but no,
Do you want to ring him now?
I mean, I could do. Oh, that'd be so funny, wouldn't it, really, to call George? But no, you're totally right, Nat. And he will definitely come back stronger. It's definitely a character building situation for him to go through that. We've all been there as drivers. But also to elaborate on that is Brendan Lee. Yesterday in qualifying as well at Canada, really put himself under pressure. He made a few mistakes in Q2, hit the wall, which meant he damaged his front wing, had to go in for repairs, and he only had one lap to then get into Q3. And that's when the pressure, he knew he made a mistake. He's really under the cosh and delivered when it mattered. I was really impressed by it.
So how do you do that? How do you sort of compartmentalise enough to get back in the moment and do what you know you can do?
I mean, Brendan Lee has got so much experience, hasn't he? And he's been through a load of ups and downs. He's made some mistakes himself as a driver. So he knew at the time that he had the pace because he was on a really good lap. And it was just a fine error. But as we know, these guys are like robots and they very rarely make these sort of mistakes. So I think it's not necessarily easy for him to do the job. But knowing with the experience that he has, I'm sure he knew within himself, if he just kept it clean, he would be right where he needed to be.
Yeah, speaking of character building, I mean, Manuel Biancalila was under the scrutiny of Tom Deacon.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was, guys.
But he performed very well indeed, it has to be said, and probably shushed the critics of Tom Deacon.
Whoa. I was not a critic. All I said was, let's debate when a driver hasn't delivered so far.
Will he get subbed, Matt? I think your question.
I think I asked, is it time to look at the subs bench? Why? Because Patrick Holtzman's there, a very experienced driver. That doesn't mean I don't want Biancalila to do well. I just said, at what point does a team start to think about that? He then went and delivered. And in the same way that I believe one of you two, name no names, yesterday said Enzo Benito had disappointed you. And today's the day. Today's the day where he gets to, hopefully, in Q1, Q2, make it all the way to Q3 and prove that he can deliver for the Ferrari team.
Oh, they need to, don't they? They really do.
To be honest, this is the kind of pressure I feel about Nick being on the desk in my absence,
I mean,
be very careful.
I was shaking, to be fair, Nat, when I got the call, said, Nick, you're going to be on the desk. I didn't want to make any mistakes. Nat's big boots to fill for Nat, isn't it, really?
That's what we said on the desk, Natalie. But we're looking forward to your return. But this is fun, though. This is what we don't quite get to do on the live show in the evening, is actually really go into depth and talk about the sort of storylines and what drivers need to do and what they don't do. Mentioning Williams and George Russell, Alvaro Carreton and Sally Saltong, and also in the Romanidis in that team, they're trying to find the perfect lineup. Carreton is 10th in the driver's standings with 16 points. We expected a little bit more of him after his showing in the Pro Exhibition during lockdown.
Yeah, he was really strong. He looked like one of the guys to at least be in the top 5, kind of just nipping on the heels of the podium. But it's similar with him and also Lucas Blakely. I keep going on about him, but that's because he was the star of when we were in first lockdown and we had the whole Pro Exhibition races. It was great to see, and he almost felt like he'd crossed this mental barrier that he was now going to be able to take it when we come to the new season of this Pro Series. But unfortunately, it just hasn't worked out for him. He hasn't been able to get in the mix in qualifying. And we just know how difficult it is to get out of that train once you're stuck in the midfield. The likes of Beresne, the likes of Tanitsa, when they've had poor qualifyings, Nick, they haven't been able to make any progress.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to be seeing from an outside point of view that, Lucas Blakely isn't performing or whatever. But you look at him, he's only half a tenth away of where he needs to be. And he's right in the mix. It's just because this F1 Pro Series is so close. it shows up all of your weaknesses as such. If you're not on the money all the time, you know, if he was another 10th up the road, he would have been in Q3. He would have been in Q3 for sorry, he would have been in Q2 in Canada. And then you can keep building and building and building on that. We know Lucas Blakely is a very, very solid driver, but tenths of a second, like, is the difference between, you know, first place and 10th.
What are they going to be going through now? Because we should have started a while ago, just to let everybody know, for this qualifying.
This isn't like a 45-minute just
No,
chill.
we don't just chat on this qualifying show. So they're sat in their rigs, they're waiting to go, they're all on their phones. That's standard.
All watching the quali show, of course.
All just chipping
Hello,
in.
drivers.
Well, because we might get some questions right now that we might be able to answer from,
We might.
from those viewers.
If anything pops up, we'll be sure to read it.
But what's going to be going through their head? They want to get started. This affects their preparation. Danny Bresny said he wants to get a better prep time. What goes through their head while they're sat there, and does this affect their qualifying?
I think it does a little bit because they cool off, because, you know, they would have been practicing pretty hardcore, I'd imagine, up until this particular moment where they're ready to dive into qualifying, set their fastest laps. But that, for me anyway, when I used to race, and the fact that, you know, even having half an hour, if I wouldn't feel like I'd be able to get on it straight away. Like, you just feel like you take the momentum in. If you go straight into another session after having a good practice, it's good. But they're cooling off a little bit. I am hearing that qualifying is underway.
What?
Or getting underway. Maybe another 45. No, I'm joking. But it is getting underway, which is very exciting. But Nick, how do you find it? You obviously have done a lot of racing yourself. Do you feel like having a good practice and then diving straight into a race is the best way to continue that momentum?
If I go into real life, in touring cars, for example, you know, we sit on the grid before we start the race, and sometimes you're delayed. And you have all of this preparation of you've done data, you've gone through the radio structure with the team, what you're going to do, and then you have this lull period where you're literally sitting in the car and you're just mulling things over and over and over and over in your head. And you can end up just over-analysing everything. And especially when you're in a race car, on the grid, you're on your own, no one's really talking to you, and then all of a sudden you get a call in your ear, right, start the engine, and away we go. And then you're like, oh, we've now actually got to get in the mix straight away mentally. So this sort of lull period is definitely going to be difficult for the drivers, because they're just sitting there, they've cooled off a bit, and then all of a sudden, you know, the session starts, and they've got to get in it.
And there it is, we're underway. Finally, Q1, 16 minutes and 32 seconds, it looks like, if my eyesight is correct. Some of the drivers out there on intermediates, I believe, again, for people to basically to explain why they're out on intermediates. It's not raining. They're in fact just testing their setup. They're making sure that everything's working, because they have a set amount of tyres, usually 4 brand new soft tyres, in order to attack this qualifying. And then you get an extra set for Q3. So these guys don't want to waste any tyres. The track is green. There's no grip out there at the moment. And we probably have another 5 or 6 minutes, I would imagine, before we start to see some real hot laps.
Yeah, they're gonna go into the pits, aren't they? They're gonna chill out for a bit and have another lull period. But this will be different. They'll be fired up. They'll know exactly what they need to do as soon as they get out of the pit lane into their outlaps. And their outlap is really, really key. And I was seeing yesterday, especially, they were continuing to generate as much heat as possible in those tyres.
Yeah, they get real-time data, so they'll see, you know, the exact temperature of every single tyre, their brakes, and they have to warm them up to the exact right temperature that they've decided works for their setup. Nat, I've got a question for you. How much has your mind been blown with how close it is in qualifying, and the fact that 1/10 can go from 1st to 10th?
Well, I mean, I am in the real world as it is, but this just takes it up to a whole other level. And this is why I'm so interested in the psychology behind it, all these tiny things, these marginal gains that they make. To Nick's point about whether you get too relaxed maybe and you lose a bit of focus before a session like this, or whether that indeed helps you in some way. Another thing Kevin Magnussen said, he was reminded about his 2nd place on his debut. Do you remember when he put it on the podium on his first race in Australia for McLaren? His only podium in the sport. And he said that at that moment, he was incredibly relaxed. He said he was almost nervous, but he wasn't nervous. And I think that's the key, is that if you can actually just rely on your talent and just tap into the talent that you know you've got in a moment like this, then you can deliver. And because there is so little separating the top 10, I mean, even the whole grid, you have to say, then it will be little moments like this. It's all up here, isn't it? I mean, we know everyone can drive, we know everyone can perform. It's what goes on up here at times like this that will make the difference.
That's my boy, Biancalila. He's out.
Oh, come on.
He's my boy. I've said it from day one.
No, Nick predicted a pole position and said, that's my boy. That's fine. You can't say he could be on the sub bench. Oh, he's my mate. He's my boy. He's my driver.
Yeah. You basically said if you were the team manager of AlphaTauri, you would
he would be racing right now because of
and now
you.
you're calling me your boy.
Listen, I would have gone to him. I wouldn't have done it over WhatsApp. I would have gone to him and I said, listen, Manuel, my man. Okay, see what I did there? I'd have said, listen, what's your thoughts on being on the subs bench? And he'd have said, I don't want it. I went, if you believe, I believe.
Oh,
and that's what it takes a real manager.
Wow.
Yeah.
You would have taken time out of his day practicing to say that to him.
Yeah, I would, because sometimes you need to just let off a bit of steam, and that's when the manager comes in. That's just a little word with you.
I just wanted to go back to Nat's point about mentality in motorsport. I go through a little, not like a motto, but for me, I feel like life is 10% physical, 90% mental. Doesn't matter how physically fit you are, if you're not strong enough mentally, you're never going to achieve your potential as such. And especially in motorsport and in any sport, it's about being in the zone, getting in that headspace where you're not actually thinking about anything. You're just driving the race or the lap that is in front of you, and that's where you get those fine margins, those tenths of a second that you wouldn't have got if you were overanalyzing it. And that's a really hard place to get yourself into all of the time. And I've witnessed it myself, being like, I was in the zone. I'm in the zone in that race, but only after the race had finished, I realized how I wasn't thinking about absolutely anything else. But when you start overanalyzing, that's when you start making mistakes, going back, and you start struggling, and you overanalyze more and more and more. So it's so important to be in the right place.
You overdrive as well, because you're trying to make up for any previous mistakes, and then you try to overcompensate for it.
Yeah.
And you make more mistakes. So you just have to. Maybe we should be psychologists, therapists.
No worries. And finally, I just wanted to say, as I've been a part of this team in the studio.
Team.
I believe, or from what I've seen, I think these drivers in F1 Esports are making less mistakes on the game than you see the real drivers in real life. Like, you don't just see someone making a mistake and firing it off into the wall or whatever. And on a game, it's actually more difficult, I would say, to be consistent.
Absolutely.
So why do you think that is?
To be more consistent on a game?
No, why do you think they're not making mistakes in the same way?
Well, that's a really difficult question to answer. I mean, these guys, as I said, they're robots. They don't make any mistakes at all, and their racing is so clean. Even when they lock a brake, they make a mistake, they still don't clash. And in real life, you can see on TV, oh, that guy looks a bit, he looks really close. I'm sure they're going to touch, and they end up touching. But on this, these guys don't touch at all, and they only seem to touch when there's maybe a game glitch or something wrong with their connection or something.
There's less variables at play, isn't there? I think with gaming as opposed to real life, wind direction and so on.
Yeah.
And there's the
when you put it in the world, there's massive consequences to that in the real world, and that obviously brings in another element up here psychologically. You know that there is a huge amount of jeopardy.
Is there something to do with that?
Whereas you don't have it in this, you can keep a calmer mindset, maybe. I don't know.
Something like the 10,000 hours, if you wanted to put into something to just get to your optimum level, they can do that within the game. Whereas in real life racing, you can't have that much time on the track and being amongst other drivers. So maybe that's part to play in it.
Unless you have billions of dollars.
Which I do, now that...
I've actually noticed completely...
For you as well, is that what's the dynamic like between teammates in the virtual world as opposed to the real world? Because I know that can often alter your psychological state as you're going in, you know, when you're one up in quali against a teammate. How do they either support or sort of conflict, if you like? Because obviously it's the only person who can be truly matched against in the real world is your teammate. How does it work in the virtual world? What's the support network like? I noticed there's quite a lot of camaraderie between them all having a bit of a laugh together.
Yeah, I think it's teammate rivalries don't particularly exist in this, I don't think, because they're working towards a common goal of winning the Constructors' Championship, which is a lot more important for these guys because that's where the prize money is dealt out. So there's no reason for Freddie Rasmussen and Marcel Kiefer to actually go hammer and tong and fight for first or second. If they've got 1 and 2, that's the sensible decision for the Red Bull team. Of course, there's pride at stake. They want to be that number 1, the person that wins the championship. But we've seen Freddie Rasmussen give up the Drivers' Championship, I think, last year or the year before, in order to allow the third driver in Red Bull, who was quicker, it was Longuet, who was quicker around a certain track, and sacrifice the Drivers' Championship to allow Red Bull to win the Constructors.
Yeah, well, that was it. Nicholas Longuet, let's all remember his new name. Actually, he gave the seat up to Freddie to give him a chance to have the Drivers' Championship, which is really selfless. And then he did get his first ever race in F1 Esports and finished second. So we knew the potential. Now he's at Renault trying to do the same again. Yeah, I would say that there isn't that kind of fighting talk between drivers. There's more like, if I lift you up, you'll lift me up, and then I get to move to another team and show my potential.
Absolutely. We've got 8 minutes remaining of this session, so let's quickly talk about how close it is for the drivers that have set a lap time. We've got 102.6s for Haddad, Sautunk, Blakely and Biancalila, 102.7 for Colagon. The rest are just out there trying to set a lap time at the moment. Some on out laps, some on laps at the moment, and it's going to be very close, as we can already see. We're in the 1 minute 2s around here, Nick. I don't think I'm going to see 59 seconds, unfortunately. I know that's probably in your head like, I wish I could see that. But is a 1 minute 1 possible? You tell us, because it was possible last time you said it.
Well, my eyesight is really poor.
1 minute 2.2 from Rasmussen.
Get in there, Tony.
2.2. So I reckon we will get to maybe a 101.6.
Wow, okay, big.
Look at that, Tomei. I like it. He's set in Haas. I am back in Haas in this one. I'm saying they're going to make it to Q3. One of those drivers.
8 drivers have set a lap time, Tom. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
But I want to get ahead of myself. Let me enjoy it as I want to enjoy it, Matthew.
I've actually noticed your top perfectly aligns with the colour of the sofa. So if you were to just sit up, you'd just be part of the sofa. Love that.
Can I just let Alex Jakes know that this sofa is roasting hot for when he comes and sits in?
Does that mean you've been here too long?
Yes.
Seat warmer.
Far too long.
Alex laughing up there as well. He'll be joining us a little bit later on. But Q1 is coming towards the end of 6.5 minutes just about. I'm testing my own eyesight here, but I've got the beautiful iPad, so I can tell you everything that's going on. Weigand's up to P3, which we'll be very happy with. Kiefer set exactly the same lap time as Simon Weigang in P4. Who is at risk at the moment? We've got Colagon, who was up there a minute ago, is now 17th. And we've got the likes of Brendan Lee down there again, Nick, putting pressure on himself.
Yeah, doesn't look like he's almost learning from Canada. But as I've always said, he's got a lot of experience. So hopefully he'll be able to get the lap done, get it sorted, and get out of Q1.
He's got more than enough time to get his act together because it's a very short lap, as we've seen, 1 minute 2 seconds. So he can get round, pop another fresh set of soft tyres.
Natalie, can I ask a question to you?
Yes.
Yes, brilliant. Can I just ask, Joni Tormela, how difficult is it in the real F1 for him to continue to get points in every single round? He's a driver that's done that every single round so far in F1 Esports. How common is that?
I mean, it's rare, but I think the point is that if you do get that run of form, it just carries you. It's a bit of a crest of a wave, isn't it? It gives you momentum, and every time you get points, it's a bit like Otmir. You know, he's put in some great performances, and he's building on that, and he seems so relaxed and so confident. I mean, in terms of quali here at the Red Bull Ring, I think the key is to be as late as possible, braking as late as possible on as many of the corners in the first part of the lap. And then when you go into the second part, it's about carrying a good minimum speed through corners 5 to 9. So it's about feeling your way round. And this is why just bedding in Q1 is a great thing for them all, just to get that momentum. So it's momentum in qualifying, it's momentum in the race, and it's momentum in the championship. All of this bodes well for them, and they build on every single lap that they do.
Here we are then, full screen time, which means we are at the business end of Q1. And right now in the drop zone is Brendan Lee, Enzo Benito, Fabrizio Donoso, Matthias Collegon, who we're riding on board with right now. Didn't improve in the first sector on his 102.7, and doesn't really look like he's using enough of the track there, Nick.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's hanging it all out, but this is an important lap for him to get it done. This is heading into the final sector. It looks clean. He hasn't made any mistakes as such, but maybe just not as fast as he would like to be. Let's see how he is through the penultimate corner. Look, the amount of rotation he had in front end. And again, for the last corner, it looks like he's got a good exit. Where does he end up with that lap?
19th still.
Yeah, remains in the same place.
4 seconds off the pace, Joni Tormala. All that laughing and giggling before the race.
Oh my God.
I've jinxed him. I feel terrible now.
He's got enough time, he's in the pits, he's probably whacking on another fresh set of softs, which isn't ideal in Q1. It means that if he gets to Q3, well, right now he's not getting through to Q2, but if he gets to Q3, most likely means he won't have 2 stabs at the cherry. But right now, 20th position, hasn't set a representative lap time. He's not 4 seconds off the pace, he just has made a mistake, Tom.
Okay.
It's not like he just rocked up and he's doing 106s.
Yeah, shout out to Sally Saltonk, the P6.
Yeah, great performance.
Yeah,
we can see him right now. Coming into the pits, it looks like. So he has set a very, very competitive lap time, and you'd like to think and hope that he'll be able to get through for his sake after a very disappointing Canadian Grand Prix qualifying. I think he was last of anybody. He said on Twitter that he was a little bit too aggressive and greedy on the tyres.
Yeah, I was actually just seeing how slow he was on his in-lap. And I'm guessing he's saving that set of tyres for his first run in Q2.
Very good point then, Nick. Well, we'll see. We'll see.
Maybe.
I love how you're like, really confident. Maybe.
On board with Joni Tormala, how's his sort of race outlap here going, Nick, from your opinion? We're sort of outside of the vehicle, so we can't really see.
Yeah, well, this is what you need to do. You've got to save the tyre, but also go fast enough to generate the heat that you need. Doesn't seem to be weaving as much or anything like that, so he must be happy with what he already has, and it's now getting on that power, getting a good exit, and using everything he has. Because there's only 1.5 or 2 minutes left, so this lap really counts. And that's a mistake, I would say, a little bit on the way in.
A little bit slidey there, yeah, through turn 1, as you say. Nat, how much pressure is going to be on Joni Tormala's shoulders at the moment? 20th and out at the moment.
It's so tough, isn't it? And obviously that delay at the start won't have helped. But yeah, I mean, it's what we discussed earlier. You've got to take your chances when they come along, so hopefully he will.
Absolutely. He's 3/10 up in the first sector on his lap time, but we don't know where he lost a huge chunk, so it's very difficult to understand how fast Joni Tormala is going at the moment. He's in the middle sector. He's got clean air in front of him, so it's all down to him and his performance.
He's backed out by the looks of it.
Well, I hope not.
Can I ask a strategy-based question, Matt?
We can in a second. Let's just see if Joni Tormala can make it through, because this is pretty big for his race. If he ends up 20th, that's going to be pretty much ruined for him. He's into the last couple of corners, and he isn't. Yes, 1 minute, so he's cooled off, nursing the. You wouldn't even say that's nursing the tyres. He's done like maybe a 1:08. It's not exactly.
I told you he was backing off. I told you he was backing off. I knew it.
So he's going for another run. So Joni Tormala either bedding the tyres in, which I wouldn't expect so, because that's taking life expectancy out. Here's David Tonitza, 14th at the moment. He's very much on the cusp. As we see, I think someone improving at the top. We've got Alvaro Caraton in the pits in P2. Danny Beresne goes up to P3. Where does Tonitza end up? He goes to P2.
That's a good lap.
And all eyes will hopefully be, well, Brendan Lee at the moment, 16th. And very much out of Q1 if he does not improve. But it looks like he isn't. He's 1 minute on his lap time already, so maybe he also is lining up for another attempt. So these drivers are making mistakes or perhaps just bedding the tyres in and going for a second run.
Yeah, it's interesting that. I mean, they're really putting a lot of pressure on their shoulders, aren't they? Yet again, Brendan Lee having to get this lap done and dusted to get out of Q1. This is riding on board with Donoso. This lap has to count. And it doesn't look like it will do at all, so he's going to be out of Q1.
In terms of the strategy for the tyres, for my prediction that Haas will get through to Q3, and hopefully do some point potential when we go to the live race. In terms of their tyre strategy, could they have peaked at some point? Could they have used too much on the softs early on in Q1?
No, they've got enough sets that they'll be able to go for 2 or even 3 runs if they want to. They wouldn't want to do that purely because of their strategy later on into qualifying. But if they're in the likes of Enzo Benito's position, they're going to have to use as many soft tyres as they possibly can. He's right on the cusp on 15th at the moment. And who's that? It's Matthias Collegon is going to be out. Cedric Tomé also out of the session. I believe, yes, there's still a lot of drivers on a lap at the moment. Brendan Lee's still on a lap. Enzo Benito is now out if he cannot improve, and he's not going to improve. So again, Enzo Benito out in Q1.
Yeah, what a shame that is. He has the pace, he has the talent, as we know.
I think Donoso did make it over the line because I'm not seeing a checkered flag for him, so that may not have been completely synced up. Jarno Opmer is the fastest.
Donoso's got
in the
P3.
Pit. P3 for Donoso, so he did make it. Huge there, would you say, Nat?
Oh, unbelievable. Oh, to put that in right at the bitter end there. Yeah, P3, well done, Donoso.
So unfortunately for Sally Saltunk, Joni Tormala, Enzo Benito, Cedric Tomé and Matthias Collegon, that is their qualifying run. Joni Tormala, we were just hyping him up in the pre-show before this, and he's out in Q1.
Yeah, I mean, that's a shame, isn't it? I think Tom called it, didn't he, at the start of Q1?
Yeah, jinxed him.
Yeah, Tom, it's your fault.
Yeah, and look, you know what? Sometimes I've got to take that one. I've got to take that. That's on me. Yoni, I know you can hear me. I apologise, but I know what you can do. Just follow the way of Nicholas Longway, and you'll be fine for this race.
Well, he's 14th is Nicholas Longay, so he only just scraped through as well.
He's only like half a tenth off.
But I believe in Simon Weigang. I believe in Simon Weigang.
You believe? You're really hyping him up.
Q3, come on, Simon, we've got this.
There is Joni Tormala, not laughing. Yeah. So that's going to be a lot of work for Joni Tormala to do in the race later this evening.
You were just about to say not laughing now, weren't you? You were just about to say not laughing now.
No, I didn't want to say that. That's too mean. That's too mean.
I know you didn't want to say that, but you were about to.
When will you tell?
We'll forgive you because he was very relaxed before the race, and I think it suddenly before quali, and then it suddenly hit him, didn't it? That he had to get in the zone.
It really did.
I wonder what happened.
Yeah, you take Matt's advice, sort your life out. That's what it's about, right?
I mean, it's 0.2 of a second between Opmer and Tormala down in 17th.
That's what I mean. This is what I was saying. So he only needed a tenth, half a tenth, and Joni Tormala would have been right there.
I hope Matthias Collegon doesn't drive like that, because that's going to be a very strange pedal setup if it is. And there's Sally Saltunk, who unfortunately did not make it either, 16th. And, well, the emotions there are clear to see, aren't they?
Yeah,
and you know, such short turnaround time before having to race, you know, how do they kind of get out of that, block it off, compartmentalise and get refocused? How hard is that to do?
I think it's really difficult when it comes to this F1 Esports Pro Series, just purely because we've already seen it. The evidence is there that if you don't have a good qualifying, you're not going to be up there in the race. It's going to be very difficult to even get on the outer edges of the points.
Yeah, as we were seeing a couple of races previous, even the likes of Tonitza and Berezne, we were expecting them to make big jumps and big progress from the back of the grid, maybe to the top 5. And then you got to like the fringes just of the top 10. So it just shows that anybody on this grid, even though you're P20 or P19, you are in race trim just as fast as anybody else, because even the top guys wouldn't be able to come through on the same strategy.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to thank...
Also, Matt, they can't rely on the variables that you discussed with real life Formula One. Yeah. Is that, at least if you're languishing at the back, you can rely on strategy or, accidents, incidents. They don't make mistakes in the same way. So, that's why quali is all the more important.
Have I improved enough, Matt, that you're letting me stick around here for longer in today's qualifier? I'm just curious.
No, we're getting rid of you very quickly and very shortly. But first we have to say goodbye to Nat. Thank you so much for joining us, Nat. It's been an absolute pleasure.
So lovely to see you all. I will catch up with you later on this evening. Can't wait.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Nat. We'll speak to you soon.
Bye, guys.
There you go. There's Nat. Thank you so much to Nat for joining us on this quali show. We had lots of personalities, including Mr. Tom Deacon as well. But, you're going soon,
We're going to sub him out.
We always upgrade. There is no possibility of downgrading when it's Tom Deacon.
Let's take a look. Shockers there.
Before you leave, sit back down,
go in.
warm that seat. Let's take a look at the eliminated drivers from Q1 and who is going to be very upset. And then Sally Sautunk, well, we saw him very, very emotional in his rig. Clearly knows there's more performance there, but it's been a bit of a recurring thing for Sally, unfortunately. He hasn't been able to get the performance out of the car in qualifying. It's so unbelievably close. We have Joni Tormler out as well, Enzo Benito, Cedric Tomei, and Matthias Collegon out in 20th position.
And they're all in the same 10th.
Yeah,
sorry,
all
I
in
just
the
wanted
same
to
10th.
say.
No, I know, it's ridiculous. So Tom Deacon has not suddenly got so much more beautiful. It is Mr. Alex Jakes. Thank you for coming back, Alex.
Thank you for that. that was lovely.
Tom just did his signature.
I can feel the rage over my shoulder, Mr. Deacon. Although he wasn't joking about it being warm. It's borderline uncomfortable here right now.
Really?
Yeah.
He's got a warm bottom.
Well, that's the headline. That's the headline.
Tom Deacon not very happy at all with that one. But we're actually diving into Q2. No delay. We're seeing David Tanitsa on the ragged edge on the soft tyres. 102.6, which is not going to be the ultimate pace. So old tyres, used tyres on that Ferrari as well. We've got Marcel Kiefer and Freddie Rasmussen. A Red Bull 1-2. Welcome, Alex. You weren't feeling too great yesterday, but you're looking rejuvenated and ready to rumble today.
The fish curry of a couple of days ago is but a distant memory, and thank goodness it is, because it wasn't pleasant. Unlike running around this circuit, one of the shortest of the year, but it is. We've had a short run of races, haven't we, with high lap count. Going to get that again. 25 laps around here. Brilliant scenery. Drivers don't care about that, do they? And we've already seen, I would say, a bit of a mini shock with Tormela. I'd say that's not a huge shock, but a mini shock to see him exit. We've talked about the difference between the virtual Grand Prix, the exhibition races that we ran at the same time as the virtual Grand Prix. The man who did so well there, Lucas Blakely, but of course a different qualifying setup from there
and a
to
different
what
game.
we have, and an entirely different game. And we've highlighted it a couple of times, but I like the way that the real thing, the real format that we have for qualifying this year has produced a few shocks, and we've seen that time and time and time again. At the very start of the season for David Tanitsa, the reason that he was involved in contact after a difficult qualifying, and put him on the back foot, and his season's not improved from there as Lucas Blakely back to the pits.
Yeah, so he's had a disappointing first lap, maybe on used tyres, so maybe won't be particularly annoyed with himself, but does not set a lap time, does not set a banker. Has to be said, the likes of Kiefer, Rasmussen, Weigang, very much in the mix with a banker there at the start of this Q2 session. Simon Weigang, very much picking up the pace, isn't he, Nick?
Yeah, he's really coming on form, isn't he, in these last couple of races? And I'm not surprised about. We know he has the pace and the talent to do that. You know, I think he wasn't in the best of mindsets when he said he was ready to give up F1 esports, but showing that you know, he shouldn't do that just yet, and he's still got it in him, and it's good to see him up there.
I think it's more the competitive fire within Simon Weigang. You know, I've mentioned it before that, you know, sometimes he can be led by his emotions, which he wasn't happy at all with me saying that. Shock me, annoying drivers. But at the same time, you can see the competitive spirit, the fire there. He doesn't want to be knocked out in Q1. He wants to be right where he believes he belongs, which is at the front of the field. And it's clear to see that he does have the pace. He just needs to be able to deliver time and time again.
Yeah, I mean, every driver on this grid has what it takes to be at the front, don't they? It's just who can deliver at the right time. And going back to what Alex was saying, you know, having this realistic format, Q1, Q2, Q3, it really does mean that you have to perform every session, and especially the times in Q1. You know, half a tenth, and you're out of Q1. Yeah. You make Q2, and it's incredible that the bottom five were basically in the same, or the bottom four were in the same tenth.
What a beautiful segue, because we're about to speak to one of those that was in that bottom five, Joni Tormela. Joni, how are you feeling after that qualifying session? Alex Jakes called it a mini shock. I'm going to call it a big shock that you're not in Q2. I'm sure you're quite surprised as well.
Can you hear me? Yeah,
yes, I
perfect. Yeah, it's a bit unexpected for sure. Like, I struggle a lot in these kind of tracks where it's easy to extend and cut, but I still thought my lap was gonna be enough. So I took the last two corners a bit easier just to make sure I don't extend. And I was a bit surprised to see myself only in P14, and yeah, in the end it was only P17.
we've seen drivers struggle quite a lot, where, you know, the likes of Berezne, Tanitsa, where they've been knocked out in Q1, Q2. They've struggled a lot in the race to be able to make up positions. What can you do from that grid slot where you can kind of put yourself in a position to score some points, some sort of damage limitation? Is it an aggressive tyre strategy?
I will have to think about that during the break, but I am quite sure. Like, if I can nail the race, I think I can score some points for sure. I just hope it goes well.
Okay, brilliant. So from me also, so we've seen that you say you struggle with tracks like this where it's easy to cut and extend. Is it because you feel like you maybe take a little bit too much momentum into some of the corners and then you get a lap time invalidated? And also another question, how much time do you reckon you lost in those last couple of corners? You say half a tenth, a tenth?
About the first question, yeah, I think it's about that. Like, I tend to carry a bit too much speed. I think, at least on Canada, that was a big issue for me. And about the last 2 corners, I think I lost a tenth at least, just trying to make sure I don't extend.
So you're kicking yourself a little bit.
It was quite a shock, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And we saw in Q1 how unbelievably close it was. Were you not expecting the fact that it was 0.2 of a second between first and last?
I was expecting that, yeah, but 2 tenths is crazy. It's crazy. Too many drivers.
Give us some insight whilst we've got you, Jonny, into Q2 and Q3. I know you probably won't want to talk about it because you're not taking part, but for us and us spectating, us novices, what are we expecting? What's an ultimate pole lap around here that we can look for the likes of Otmar, maybe Rasmussen, to be targeting towards?
I expect that we go to 0-1s, so 0-1-9, I would say.
Okay, 0-1-9, a 0-1-6, that's what Nick Hamilton was hoping for. Are we not seeing that?
6 is going to be too much, for sure.
No, 6 is not going to happen. Yeah. I think it's 0-1.9 from Freddie.
Oh, okay. Wow. Big statements. Thank you so much, Jonny, for joining us, and hopefully you won't have to join us for Q1s anymore and you'll be out there on track.
Yeah, hope not. Thank you.
Cheers, Jonny. It's good to hear, Alex, isn't it, from a driver, and you know, he wasn't too aggressive or annoyed with us, because I would be if I was being interviewed straight after a disappointing qualifying session.
Yeah, that'd be a hard no if I got that in Q1. Speak to Matt Gallagher. No, I'm not interested in that at all.
Okay.
So credit to him for checking in.
Hey, my name's not Tom
Deacon. I wouldn't be in the mood.
I thought it was the Tom Deacon bashing on this show. I think it was later on where you bashed. Anyway, it's fine. But it's good to hear from him anyway, and a 101.9 is what we're looking for.
Yeah, that is going to be, if someone can pull that off, it's going to be very, very impressive indeed. But such fine margins, not only to find the lap time, but to avoid extending and to have that in your head, and then for him to go, all right, I'm going to take it easy, and the fine margins cost him. I felt really sorry for him, actually, because you could tell that was playing on his mind. We saw at the very start, miles off, just not really where he needed to be. Then he gets in the zone. But yeah, so feel for him in that regard, but it's going to be pivotal, isn't it? Because if we look at the times at the moment, 5 minutes to go. Once again, nothing really at the top. Take it a little bit too far, though. We could get a situation like we had yesterday when the person who puts it on pole ends up losing that lap time.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't think we get any wall riding this time, which is what Marcel Kiefer did around Canada. But what I found so interesting to hear from Jonny was the fact that he thought he had enough in the bag. He took it a little bit, just a tiny bit casual in the last couple of corners, lost 1/10 of a second, and he's out. That just shows how close this season is, doesn't it, Nick?
Yeah, I was actually looking at David Tanitsa and realising how close he has to be on the from going through over the back of the curb. And if he goes over the back of the curb, that's lap time deleted. So whereas before on other racetracks, we've been able to see a little bit of movement in terms of car positioning. So it's really interesting to hear from Jonny there that it's so strict on these track limits to the point where he's giving away a little bit of time. He even knew in himself, I'm going to have to go a little bit slower here because I'm on a good lap. I don't want to ruin that lap. Costing himself a tenth, and a tenth would have put him, I don't know, maybe P5?
Yeah, and he would have been safely through. Longuet, the first man in Q2 to go into the 0.1s. I was just counting how many are in the 0.2s, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 drivers in the 1 minute 2.2, which I don't think any of these drivers feel safe, Alex, do they?
I like that. I like that at this stage of qualifying, because it means that we get to see the top standard around here. Going to be very, very tight racing for 25 laps when the standard is this close. We saw a lock-up a few moments ago from Nicolas Longuet in the middle of the lap, and sometimes the lock-ups can work for you. Sometimes that can be the difference between putting it at the top of the timing page and heading out in a few moments' time. But the only defeatist bit from Joni Tormela was when you asked him, can you do something different with the strategy? He knows that when it's gone wrong for someone, thinking of someone like Danny Bresnay earlier in the season, when it's gone wrong in qualifying, it's been difficult to unpick that error.
It has, but he was slightly hopeful that he'll be able to have a perfect race and score some points. So maybe, just maybe, he'll go for, it has to be an aggressive tyre strategy, whether it's trying to mimic what Jarno Opmeer does. Of course, he hasn't put himself in a bad position, but he's made that medium to soft strategy work so well for him. And it's definitely the more aggressive strategy, because you see the drivers start on mediums and pit quite early to go onto the softs, whereas the drivers that start on the softs don't seem to go that distance. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that unfolds this evening in the race show, where myself and Alex will be in the commentary box. You'll be filling in for Nat again on the desk, your desk job, Nick. But you did a fantastic job yesterday, and I'm looking forward to seeing how you and Tom just direct the show beautifully. I'm just pocketting all the favours and the compliments.
I really appreciate that. So this is a big lap for David Tunitsa to get it right, because if he doesn't get it right, he could see himself out of Q2. Before this lap, he was weaving frantically, wasn't he? Before the final corner, you can see every moment he has, he's trying to minimise that distance to the next corner, making sure he uses all the track. Oh, lock-up on the right front, which cost him a little bit, I would say. He wasn't able to turn in and rotate the car as much as he'd have liked to. You can see him now go over to the curb, maximise all of the width of the circuit, and we've got a yellow flag in sector 3, which I hope it doesn't hamper Tunitsa on this lap. Not sure who it is at the moment, as we're now heading down into the fast double right-hander, slinging in, hold on, and do not extend track limits. It looks clean and tidy, and where does this put him? Is it enough?
Here we go, over the line, it's P1. What a great lap from David Tunitsa. That will see him safely through to Q3. Here's Lucas Blakely. He hasn't set a lap time yet, and he's not going to set a good lap time. It's already 1:06. It's going to be Lucas Blakely falling short once again, invalidated in fact. He does not set a lap time in Q2. Danny Moreno 2/10 up on his current lap time, but he goes wide. He backs out of it. Is he thinking that was a mistake, Alex, and he's now winding himself up for another attempt?
Yes, still got time on the board. That's the important thing. We're tracking Bono Huis at the moment in the second Mercedes, still in the session. He's got a car ahead of him, but he's still got time to get out there and improve. The problem, though, going into the Jochen Rindt curve, penultimate corner on the racetrack, it is very, very difficult when you've got a car maybe not affecting you, but still causing a few issues. It's good enough for 7th, though, for Bono Huis.
Yeah, that was good. Good lap from Bono Huis. Very much on the cusp. Simon Weigang goes top of the sheets with a 1:02.0. Didn't see that one coming, as Manuel Biancalila is starting his final lap in Q2. He's down in 14th. Tom Deacon is going to be staring at his monitor, praying that Manuel Biancalila can make it through. Otherwise, he'll be on the subs bench. Lucas Blakely goes up to P9. So he manages to finally get a lap time on the board, and he's very much on the cusp at the moment, isn't he, Alex?
He is indeed. So Weigang, then Kiefer, Bresnay, Tunitsa and Longuet. Longuet, who has completed his Q2. We go on board with one of the drivers under a huge amount of pressure after a personal best yesterday, and he was punching the air. Will he be punching the steering wheel with frustration? Danny Moreno over the line and into the top 10. You can see he's absolutely delighted with that one, but still efforts to come from plenty in the drop zone at the moment, including Donoso, who is off the pace, coming back to the pits and eliminated in the second part of qualifying there. Caraton in the drop zone along with Donoso, Haddad and Biancalila. That is going to be so frustrating. Surprise driver at the top, you have to say, in Simon Weigang, but he won't mind that one bit at all.
Caraton
it's disappointing,
for 7th.
Bono Huis just missing out. Brendan Lee just getting through, and look at the difference there between progressing and getting eliminated. 0.06 of a second.
The two-time champ Brendan Lee, 10th position, and it looks like he will be making it through unless Biancalila's on the lap, but I don't think he is. So Rasmussen in 9th as well. almost in danger. Just, 1/10 of a second separating pretty much first all the way down to 9th. And there's Lucas Blakely, doesn't look happy again. And it's just such a shame. That's a face of disappointment if I've ever seen from Fabrizio Donoso Delgado.
That's how you two felt when you had to fill earlier on.
And you were the opposite, chilling up in one of your seats.
I had a great time.
Watching
it was a
it
great
unfold.
watch. You feel for the guys eliminated at this point, though, because there are. Yesterday you could tell where you lost out. It's hardly anything. We're talking about hardly any difference in lap time at all. And I think it just makes it. Well, you tell me, Nick, from your point of view, when you've missed out by a tiny amount. Not that you miss out. You're always pushing at the front, but it's just that little bit harder to take, isn't it?
Yeah, and especially around this sort of circuit, it goes down to like a gear shift. You want to make sure every gear shift is on the money. A slight miss in terms of shifting up or down is going to cost you that 0.5, that you might need to get through.
It absolutely is, and if there's ever a teaser for Q3, look at the times. We have got an absolutely unbelievable shootout for pole position coming up, don't we?
Are you happy now? Are you happy that it's so close? Because yesterday you were just complaining all the time.
Hey, I complained, they picked up the pace, I was happy. This time I didn't have to complain. They're
Didn't
here.
have to G them up, did you? Didn't have to complain. They're on it immediately. We'd always expect it around this circuit, but do you remember Jerez, 1997, when 3 cars set identical lap times?
I do.
It's not
I was 5, but I do.
I wasn't born. I wasn't born then.
That's a gut punch, isn't it?
No, I was born.
I think you might have been.
I was also 5.
Amazing stuff. Let's take a look at who was eliminated from Q2 and will not be progressing to the final shootout for pole. It's Bono Huis, Lucas Blakely, Fabrizio Donoso, Daniele Haddad and Manuel Biancalila. Tom Deacon will be straight on the social media to be having words with him. But probably the biggest scalp there, Fabrizio Donoso, you'd have to say?
Yeah, given the form that he's shown in recent weeks, yeah, I'd agree with that. Bono Huis, it would be frustrating for him, given that his teammate was only just missing out, only further up the road there. Bono Huis in 11th, Brendan Lee in 10th.
Yeah, ever so close Bono Huis to his teammate, but not progressing through. Freddie Rasmussen not looking as bulletproof, but that's just the nature of this track, isn't it, Nick? Where 0.5, a slight snatch of a break, and you could be finding yourself at the bottom end of the field.
Yeah, exactly that. So that's why I think every driver on this grid so far today has done an amazing job, because they're only, two tenths off from P20 to P1 in Q1. Whereas previously in other circuits, we've seen the drivers that actually get eliminated in Q1 are maybe 3 to 4 tenths off. So they've actually got closer to the guys at the front, but because it's so close, it puts them at the back still.
Absolutely. It's been great to see Simon Weigang. We mentioned him in the quali sessions leading up to this, where he's been showing some good pace, and it's good to see that finally he's being able to at least feel comfortable around this Red Bull ring. What do you think has been here he is, in fact, the magic. Thank you so much, production, for showing us Simon Weigang, currently on a flying lap. What do you think's changed here, Nick? Is it just the fact of everything hooking up?
Now he's starting to see himself improve. It's just going to help him with that sort of feeling, that confidence, realising that he still can do what he needs to do. He just needs to be clean, needs to be tidy. And the fact that he's gone P1 in Q2, that's just going to fire him up even more to get this quali lap done and dusted and get a good banker lap.
So I'm looking at the timings right now on my beautiful iPad, and Freddie Rasmussen has the fastest first sector of any of these drivers on a lap at the moment with a 15.596. Beresne is the fastest in the middle sector at the moment. Simon Weigang is on a decent lap. I'm talking thousandths of a second. Not good enough, though, apparently. Simon Weigang does not fancy setting that lap time, Alex.
Bit of a shock. I'm jealous of your iPad. We just have to watch what everyone's looking at home.
Look, we can't have 3 iPads.
3 iPads, that's madness. That's a production gone absolutely crazy. No, I guess when the margins are going to be this tight, then if you feel like there's more left in it, then maybe best to abandon it and come back out again. Freddie Rasmussen putting the baseline time on the board, but we expect them to be going slightly faster. It's going to be interesting with the time allowed. Who's going to crack under the pressure? Who's going to step up? This is an elite group of drivers. This is where it gets really interesting. And also, we've been talking a lot about the state of the track. We've been talking an awful lot about where we are. Championship-wise, Jarno Opmeer, is this maybe a session where he's potentially at risk, because when the margins are very tight, is he going to be further down in the top 10? We know it's going to be aggressive on lap number 1. We've already seen plenty of incidents this year. It's all been going so brilliantly for him that are we waiting to see the first curveball chucked his way in 2020?
You make a very good point, because this is the track where Jarno does not want to be at 98%. He needs to be at 100% to be at the front. Freddie Rasmussen's already put in a decent banker lap. He can now really attack this Q3 session on his second run. David Tunitsa there on his outlap. He'll really want to be at the front as well after such a disappointing Canadian Grand Prix. How do you pick yourself up, Nick, after disappointment after disappointment?
Yeah, but I think even though it's a disappointment that he knew he had no control over. So it's going to be easy for him to pick himself up. He knows he's got the pace. He showed that in Canada. So starting his lap here, he'll just want to continue the same form that he's had. And that's all he can do, really, because everything else has been out of his hands.
Tunitsa starting his lap time now. Into turn 1 he flies, and this is a very, very tricky corner to get right because of track limits. You can't cut too much, you can't extend either, and it just has to be on the ragged edge. These drivers have put in hours upon hours upon hours to work out where the millimetres you can extend, the millimetres you can cut without getting a penalty, without getting a lap invalidated. DRS wide open as he heads down towards the middle sector.
And this is where the driver really goes to work then. So it's finding the ragged edge in terms of pace, and then it's all scalpel-like precision.
This corner is horrible. This corner is horrible. The turn-in is just, you're so patient, don't you?
And you're waiting, and then you're picking up. I mean, it is so quick. It is brutally fast around here, but this final sector, Nick, it is so easy to just go a millimetre wide and ruin all of the hard work.
Yeah, as Joni Tormala said, it's make or break, isn't it? If you take it too easy, you give away a tenth, potentially, and even half a tenth, which would make all the difference. Where does this put Tunitsa as we go across the line? P3, decent lap.
I'm not sure if he'd be too happy with that, to be honest, Tunitsa, because we were into the 1 minute 2 zeros from Simon Weigang in Q2, at the end of Q2. Of course, the track is ever ramping up. Alvaro Carreton, is he on a good lap? We'll find out very shortly as he drives towards the line. What's it going to be? It's a 1:02.0. Alvaro Carreton sets the benchmark.
Yeah, that's really impressive. It's great to see what Simon Weigang, what can he do?
I think he's ramping up for another lap.
Yeah,
here.
it looks like he's aborted that one, and maybe now definitely going for it on this lap. This is Jarno Opmeer. What can he do? Going P3, that's a good lap. It's a decent lap for him. He knows he's got another lap to come, but a good banker, Danny Berezne, coming through the last corner, maximising everything he can. Where does he put it? And P4.
So it's a good lap from Danny Berezne. I think he'll be pleased with that. And he's a driver with less and less to lose in the championship standings. Few difficult races for him, but this is maybe the surprise package, considering the context of the championship so far. The driver fastest in Q2, Simon Weigang, the top pick in the draft this year, going to the Haas team, and you can tell how much he is pushing through the corners. Yellow flag in sector 2, but he is past there. He's into the Jochen Rindt curb. He's got one corner to go, and this is where you can get understeer that can cost you, but there didn't appear to be a lot there. What's the time for Simon Weigang? Good enough for P3.
Interesting, we haven't seen the ultimate pace that we were maybe expecting from some of these drivers, but we've still got 4 minutes and 46 seconds remaining, and Freddie Rasmussen is on a flying lap at the moment. Into these last couple of corners, so important, and it looks like he's not pushing, he's going straight into the pits, so no improvement for Rasmussen. He is in P2. Nicholas Longate in P3, and Brendan Lee, well, by the looks of that lap time, doesn't look particularly impressive, and it's not, it's a 1:02.5. Down in 9th, Marcel Kiefer down in 7th, a little bit out of sorts for him at the moment, a little bit of oversteer as well off the exit of the curb. Where does he end up? It's P3, not bad at all, just behind his teammate.
Yeah, look at the gap between the two Red Bulls there. One Red Bull abandoning the lap, the other one with a bit of a correction coming out of the final corner, but it's speed that worked for Marcel Kiefer, and he finds himself in 3rd position. Alvaro Carreton is perhaps not the name we expected to be top of the pile with 1 run to go.
Popping himself right in the mixer, isn't he there, Nick? That's such a good lap from Alvaro. We mentioned it before that he definitely has shown the pace in the exhibition races and in previous series, but right now, pole position, he's going to be feeling very good.
Yeah, and this is the thing, because we've seen Williams chopping and changing their lineup. Sometimes you don't see
He's saying, stop it, leave me in the team.
Yeah, he's really showing himself, isn't he? He's showing, look, I can really lead this team. I can really do the job if you just keep me in the seat. And so far, so good. Caraton going P1 is great to see.
So Moreno is the only driver not to set a lap time at the moment. He has gone for a lap, but unfortunately decided it was not worthy of coming over the line for, which you'd imagine would maybe be 4 or 5 tenths off, and they've decided, nope, not good enough, because that would be right at the bottom in P10. David Tanitsa is the first of the drivers on an outlap, and we've got 3 minutes remaining, Alex. This is where it all begins to ramp up, and we might well dive into the 1 minute ones.
Oh, I really hope so. I really hope that we get some scorching laps here. David Tanitsa has decided to go out nice and early. Don't wait for the track to be at its most rubbered in. Push right now with a clear track ahead and try and do something about the 8th position. The reigning champion's had his trouble so far in the campaign this year and has looked a little bit out of sorts around here. His FDA teammate has already been eliminated, so David Tanitsa in the warm-up phase, getting everything into the window and then having to push. Here you can see the curbs that we saw Simon Weigang pushing so intensely on his way to P5. Nicholas Longuet with a strong lap as well. Joni Tormela was tipping Freddie Rasmussen. Found a little bit of form, hasn't he? With those strong couple of races last night. Now as we go into the 6th contest of the year, it's about showing that if you've had a difficult start to the year, you can respond. If you've had a great start to the year like Jarno Opmeer, it's about keeping that consistency immediately, and that looked like a bit of a moment for David Tanitsa coming out of turn number 1.
It would affect him all the way down to the hairpin. He's 4 tenths down on his 102.3. That lap is done. He is going to be nursing his tyres for another opportunity. He'll be saving his battery, and he'll go again. He's got enough time to make another rotation of the circuit, and it's a short lap. It's not going to take a huge amount out of the tyres. Tanitsa will have another bite at the cherry. Freddie Rasmussen currently in the middle sector, 2nd on the grid. He'll be happy with that, but he wants to go one better, and well, not his teammate as such, but the B team, Joni Tormela, he said 101.9, Freddie Rasmussen.
Absolutely. So not long to go then. Pole position being debated for the race later on, and absolutely relaxed stuff at the moment for Freddie Rasmussen. Just checking where everyone else is. Minutes ago then, outlaps are over, and we are going to get push laps now with not long on the clock at all. David Tanitsa this time through turn number 1, and it's looking a lot more nailed to the floor. That's what he wants. He wants an opportunity. Don't even think about turn 2. That's not a concern at all. Haul on the anchors for number 3 and hope that you've got yourself into a position with a good first sector. I think it looked good for David Tanitsa.
Yeah, this is going to be really interesting, isn't it? Because you've got Jarno Opmeer, Danny Beresne and David Tanitsa right in the top 10, but they're not in the sharp end, are they? And this is a circuit where they need to benefit from being on the front of the grid, so they can pull away, help their championship, etc. So this lap is so important for all 3 drivers, especially Jarno Opmeer, because I don't think I've seen him start any lower than P3, and this is a circuit that he potentially could have his worst qualifying.
Checkered flag is out. Caraton has improved his lap time. Marcel Kiefer is 2nd. No improvement for David Tanitsa. We go on board with Freddie Rasmussen, who backed out of his previous effort. Now he is flying to the line. Is he flying to pole position? Let's find out. Rasmussen across the line, and he stays in P3. Now Danny Beresne over the line. Where can he go? He remains in the same place as well. Nicholas Longuet was going to cross the line. He can't improve either.
Moreno's in the mix, fastest in the first sector. A decent middle one as well. Where's Danny Moreno going to get on the grid? Oh, it's invalidated. What a shame.
So it will be 10th position for him. On board with the driver currently in 6th position. By his lofty standards in 2020, that has not been normal. Caraton, Kiefer, Rasmussen, Weigang now in 4th, Longuet in 5th. Then it's Lee. Then we get to this man. Can he improve at the very end? You bet he can. To the front row for Jarno Opmeer. But it's not good enough to take away pole for Caraton. A superb lap, and the only driver in the 1 minute ones has taken pole position.
Lots of improvements there, and Alvaro Caraton, 1 minute 1.9. We wanted it, we thought we were going to see it. Joni Tormela thought it was going to be Rasmussen.
Look at
and
smile.
There is Caraton. How happy is he?
Yeah, what a great lap. What a great lap. It's so good to see him up there, taking it to the top guys. Pole position for him and a great recovery from Jarno Opmeer starting on the front row.
And it changes the complexion of the race later tonight, doesn't it, Alex? Where you've got Alvaro Carreton. He's not in the fight for the championship right now, unless he wins every single race and some crazy thing happens. But he'll want to win this race and do everything he possibly can to hold them off.
Yeah, and the contrast you're making with the driver alongside on the front row, Jarno Opmeer, risk versus reward for him. He's got to think about the championship. He's in a position that he's never been in before. He's got control of the championship at the moment. And as you point out, does he really need to take the risk if he's wheel-to-wheel in turn number 1, if he's wheel-to-wheel in turn number 3? I would argue that he doesn't.
It's an incredible performance from Alvaro Carreton, but let's talk about Freddie Rasmussen and Jarno Opmeer. Time after time after time, Q1, Q2, Q3, I'll be at the front of the field. Every single time. It's monumental stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, these guys are so consistent, aren't they? They know their strengths, they know their weaknesses, and they know maybe in Q1, Q2, they don't need to push that much and potentially, you know, sandbag for their rivals.
Not by much, though. I mean,
yeah, not by much, but what I'm saying is, even Joni Tormela says, I backed out through the last couple of corners and saved myself a 10th or so. Yeah. For these guys, that could be sandbagging. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because if you
which is crazy to think.
If you have a 10th on the table, you know, that could be all the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And when the margins are tight, when it's close like that, having that inner confidence, having that experience, and knowing that you're of the very top 5 caliber, it counts for a lot. Confidence breeds confidence with the drivers as well. And that is why this year, Jarno Opmeer, in a place that we've never seen him before, at the very top tier. It's great to see the drivers do that. We're used to that with Freddie Rasmussen.
We are indeed. I'm really intrigued to see what the drivers will choose in terms of tyres as well coming into this race, because you know, is Freddie Rasmussen and Jarno Opmeer going to be on the same tyre strategy? Are we going to see that wheel-to-wheel fight that we want to between those two? It's going to be really interesting, and it seems as though Jarno Opmeer tends to go for the medium-soft strategy. That's the one that he tends to favour.
Yeah, likes to do all the hard work at the very end. Almost every single race that we've seen this year has been decided in the last 2 laps, and that's a lot of the time been strategies meeting at the end. But he does seem to favour that. Likes to attack low fuel, soft tyres at the end, and who can blame him?
Let's take a look at the provisional top 10 classification. Of course, things can change. We saw it change at Canada after Marcel Kiefer had his lap time deleted, but it's Alvaro Carreton at the top of the pile with a 101.948, the only man in the 101 region. Opmeer and Kiefer second and third. Freddie Rasmussen, Red Bull, still looking incredibly strong. Danny Beresne, they're down in 8th, still just not getting everything that we expect out of that Alpha.
Yeah, it's really interesting for him, but I'm just noticing, you know, top 10 are separated by 3 tenths. Yeah. And in Q1, the whole field is separated by 2 tenths. So maybe the pressure of Q3 were getting some of the drivers, the likes of Tanitsa, the likes of Danny Beresne, for example, for them not to get the job done.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you have one driver talking to us saying it was in my head a little bit, it's not a shock that maybe it's spread out there under the pressure. But that's when you have to deliver. That can be weekend defining. For someone like Simon Weigang, who's gone and delivered there, for Nicolas Longuet, who again has shown qualifying is his strength, they've given themselves every opportunity in the race later on.
Now, if you have any questions, be sure to send them in using hashtag F1 Esports on Twitter or in the chat, and they'll be answered in tonight's show. I wonder what questions people will be asking. Tyre strategy? Who's going to win? Well, no one will listen to us about who's going to win, right? But who's looking strongest, would you say, Nick, going into tonight's race?
You have to say Jarno Opmeer, but I would love to see Carreton win. I think he's really proven himself, shown himself, and I think maybe using the soft tyre at the start of the race to try and gap the field. Jarno Opmeer may choose the medium tyre, which gives Carreton the opportunity to use that advantage at the start of the race. But yeah, it's going to be interesting, isn't it?
It is indeed. And now we're in my favourite part of the show, which is annoying drivers, which is talking about the underperformers, how they did about as expected, and then the overperformers. Nick, you've been given the underperformer job today. So you're going to be the one that, might annoy a driver, but hey. That's up to you.
No, I think this guy, he sort of knows himself. I'm going to go with Joni Tormala.
Yeah.
I would definitely say he's underperformed for his own standard. He was upset himself having given away that 10th that he said he gave away in these final 2 corners. He really didn't know that it was going to be so close, and that 10th of a second, the relaxing part that he had through the final 2 corners really made that difference.
Yeah, he thought it was going to be enough, unfortunately for him. I'm going to take on the middle part, which is as expected. I think Nicolas Longuet is deserving of that award. You know, there or thereabouts, gets into Q3. Not exactly expected when you look at the fact that he was on poles, but I feel like he's now settling into maybe more territory that he belongs, which is kind of Q3 in the mix, but doesn't seem to have the absolute raw pace that we've seen some of the other drivers show more recently.
We have seen him have that raw pace. He's had a couple of poles, hasn't he? Been up thereabouts, but yeah, doing a really good job.
Tailing off a little bit, it has to be said, though, in these last couple of rounds. Not really. We thought the Longuet was going to potentially be the one to take it to the likes of Rasmussen and Otmir, but he hasn't had enough points to really show for that. Now, the favourite part, which is overperform, you know, you can sugarcoat it how you like.
Absolutely.
Go on, throw it out.
Well, it can only be one man. After that performance, I was looking at the top 10 drivers. I was like, who's going to take pole position here? I was not expecting to see Alvaro Carreton at the top. We've talked about Williams needing a leader. Can he be that leader? He had a smile of satisfaction on his face. He's got the championship leader alongside him. The championship leader thinking about the championship, thinking about getting the job done. As we get to the halfway point of the season, he has every opportunity. And you know what? It will be a sweet pole position for him because this was about perfection. Some are about getting a long lap, hooking it up. A Spa is about being consistent around a long lap. This was about perfection around a very short racetrack and top of the pile, exceeding expectations as he did so.
Yeah, he's going to be very happy, and there you can see it. Look what it means. Look what it means to him. That's brilliant to see. We know he had the potential, and finally, he shows it in this Australian Grand Prix qualifying. Now, I hear that we actually have him on the line right now to speak to. I know. Alvaro, can you hear us? I'm sure you are elated, so joyous. We saw those pictures a little bit earlier where you were celebrating your qualifying. How was it?
You perfectly, Matt. Yes, I didn't expect it, to be honest. But I had a really good Q1, only 1 lap, so I reserved a new tire as well for Q3, so I had 2 new tires. And I just did almost my PB, so perfect qualifying. I lost of work, to be honest.
Yeah, 101.9. Was that? Would you have absolutely taken that had someone said that's the lap time you're going to set in Q3?
Yeah, absolutely. This track is really difficult to nail a lap with the track limits. You need to send it. You need to have so much confidence. And yeah, it is what it is. I got it.
I feel like I can ask you this question because I think you've just set it, the perfect lap. What is the ingredients to a perfect lap around the Red Bull Ring? Where is the time made up?
I don't know. You need to be really good in every corner. Obviously, if you have less downforce, you can be a bit quicker in sector 1 and 2, but then in sector 3, you could lose time, so you need to find the balance of the car. And I think this time the setup was really good. For me at least, so yeah, I'm really happy with this. I didn't expect it, to be honest.
Alvaro, one question from me. We've seen you getting better and better and stronger with every race and really good performances. What have you done to remain consistent and continue to improve yourself as the season's gone on?
Yeah, as I said last season, it was all about mental change, you know. Mentalize myself that I can be fast everywhere, every time. Do not risk a lot, do consistent laps, practice like it was the real qualifying, you know. So I don't know. I'm much better than last year and 2 years ago, so I'm happy for that.
It's a really intriguing topic that we've been discussing a lot, which is the fact that you drivers are racing in your own setups, in your own homes potentially, or at Formula 1 HQs. How have you found the transition to participating in this F1 Esports Pro Series in the comfort of your own home?
Yeah, it's really different. Obviously, at home you can practice whenever you want. You can practice hours before any race, any qualifying. Whereas in the real thing, in the arena, you have limited time for practice. And you have different equipment. It's supposed to be the same, but the feeling is a bit different. You have the cameras, you have the lights, all the pressure. But yeah, I still prefer driving in the arena. I hope next year we can go there again.
Oh, so do we. Alvaro, question from me. I'm wondering, there are some laps, there are some racetracks where it's great to take a pole position. This is one where there are a lot of overtaking opportunities on lap 1. How are you approaching the race later on?
I won't tell you. Let's say tonight.
Ask a silly question, get a silly answer. That's my thought.
I absolutely love that. But I guess from me, final one, Alvaro, the alternate strategy, is it something you're concerned about? We've seen Jarno Opmeer take complete advantage of it around Canada, for example. You know, he's very quick on the softs at the end. He seems to like that. Is that what you're going to be doing, looking in your mirrors quite a lot and seeing what the other drivers are doing?
Jarno is the championship leader. He's a really good driver. But yeah, I'm going to do my job, trying to score most points possible and maybe a win, who knows. But yeah, the points are tonight, so calm down.
He sounds like a racing driver already, doesn't he? Alvaro, thank you so much for your time, mate, and good luck this evening.
Thank you.
So there's Alvaro Caraton, clearly very happy with himself after an amazing qualifying. And he keeps all the secrets very much in his chest, doesn't he?
Why not? He's starting from pole, you know, and the only driver in the 101s. So if I was him, I would be keeping it proper stum, which is what he's doing.
What did you make of Alvaro there? He seemed quite relaxed, quite confident. Didn't seem like he was fazed by having an interview.
No, and he seemed almost surprised that that was good enough for pole position. I think it speaks to, we saw a really high bar set in Q2, and then it was about delivering under pressure in Q3. He was the only driver that really set the track alight with the effort at the end.
I'm incredibly excited for this evening's race show around the Red Bull Ring. It's 7:30 p.m. GMT, same place, Gfinity Arena, and we have got an epic race ahead of us. It is so unbelievably close. We'll also be showing the highlights from the Netherlands and Canada. They were both races to remember. Alex, you're looking forward to a bit of commentary this evening, me and you?
Can't wait. Cannot wait, Matt. It's going to be another thriller. Every single race this year has been excellent.
And final thoughts from you, Nick. What can we expect from tonight's race?
Well, I'll be on the desk job
for
me tonight, so I'm getting prepared for that. But yeah, it's going to be a really exciting race. I want to see what Caraton can do. And Opmeer's got everything to think about, hasn't he, in terms of championship?
There you have it. Thank you so much for watching this qualifying show. It's brilliant to bring you all the behind the scenes from here, but I'm very excited to see who will be on top at the Red Bull Ring. Can Alvaro Caraton hold on? You'll have to find out at 7:30. Bye-bye.